Hello everybody, my name is Melissa Rogerson and I'm presenting this research, More Than a Gimmick, Digital Tools for Board Game Play, on behalf of my co-authors Lucy Sparrow and Martin Gibbs. We've seen really significant growth, particularly over the past 6 years or so, in the use of digital tools to support and complement tabletop play. We interviewed 18 people working in the board game industry at the Tabletop Network Game Designers Conference in 2019. And these are people who are very influential and respected in the hobbyist community and who have had significant commercial success as well. In this paper, we present the 5 key themes we generated from these interviews and propose a set of design principles for digital tools for board game play. I'm going to introduce each of those themes and then come back to present the design principles towards the end of this talk. Our first theme talks about what it is to be a game or a hybrid game, and there was a lot of discussion of the edge cases here, so tools like the Chiwazi Finger Chooser app, which sits outside the game, but players use to determine the start player, were discussed here quite extensively. Of all the themes, this second is perhaps the one that we most anticipated. This is where people spoke about the promise of digital tools, but also about resistance to technology. And of course, sometimes they spoke about resistance and sometimes they really demonstrated it themselves. So screen time concerns, mistrust of digital tools, optimism about the role of tech in our lives. Some of our participants felt that gimmicks, something flashy that lacks intrinsic value, were inherently problematic, but others thought that they might encourage sales, particularly to non-hobbyists. One interviewee said that it needs like a super good hook, and the hook has to be extremely superficial, like the plastic dog in Woofy Whoops, which randomly pees on a player. Given that the people we interviewed work in the board games industry, there was a lot of discussion of the potential for digital tools in game design and of the challenges of designing for the use of digital tools. Overall, there was a sense of the digital tool as just one more component, and a very strong perceived need to focus player and designer attention on the board and physical pieces rather than on digital elements. Participants talked about 3 different kinds of cost associated with digital tools. There were the high costs for players and for publishers to develop and support digital, but also concerns about the environmental and sustainability costs, both of shipping board games around the world and of powering devices. Our final theme touched on the impact of digital tools on various aspects of player experience. Surprisingly, our participants didn't talk explicitly about accessibility, although we feel that's very relevant here. This analysis led us to develop these 5 guiding principles for designing digital tools for tabletop play. Firstly, traceability. It's important that decisions and their effects aren't obscured behind the digital interface. Designers need to carefully consider the effects of new functions, such as an undo feature. Completeness ensures not only that these games not be vulnerable to becoming obsolete, but also that players have all the tools at hand to play the game. Integration is about the way that the digital tool and physical pieces of the game work together, and our participants were adamant that the people are the most important element in these interactions. Privacy speaks to some of the concerns about the use of technology and about how we feel about our personal devices. And materiality, absolutely integral to tabletop play, references the dual role that board games have as playable and as artefacts which have meaning as objects to be transferred, passed on and treasured. And this means that gimmicks, when used, need to be applied sparingly and thoughtfully. We contend that designers and researchers considering using digital tools with tabletop games should engage meaningfully with these principles to understand the context and novel design space in which these games exist. I'm going to leave you with this quote from one of our participants. I like it because it captures the potential for these tools. I think it opens up a lot of design possibilities, and I really feel like we're only really scratching the surface of what's going on. But also importantly, the ambivalence that many of the people we interviewed had towards these games. I wouldn't want every single game I play to have to be a hybrid. Thank you for your time. We're really happy to take any questions, either here or offline.